Is education a human right or a luxury?
If you have education, you can face anyone on the planet Earth. My house was destroyed by a mortar. And then my mother was crying. And my father said, "Don't cry. I have educated them, all of them, so they will do well."
ข้าพเจ้าเป็นลูกชาวนาพ่อแม่ก็บ่ฮู้หนังสือแต่ย้อนการศึกษาพาให้ข้าพเจ้าได้มีเวียกเฮ็ดงานทำและสามารถเข้าสู่เวทีการเมืองได้แล้วก็ก้าวมาเป็นรัฐมนตรีศึกษาได้
UNESCO is the lead agency for education for all, which is the second Millennium Development Goal.
My country has only 10 years old. We have around 60% of our population still illiterate. We are now trying to make sure that by 2015, illiteracy could be eradicated in my country.
We need to do more for education. It's not a matter of privilege. It should be the right for all people to not only be educated, but also to acquire knowledge.
It's important not just for the development of the individual, but also for the development of the nation.
ผมจบการศึกษาในระดับประถมศึกษาในชนบทนะครับและแน่นอนไม่มีเครื่องมืออื่นใดที่จะเปลี่ยนแปลงคนให้คนได้พัฒนาและมีความเจริญงามมีแต่เรื่องการศึกษาเท่านั้นจะเป็นเครื่องมือที่สำคัญนะครับ
Why everybody have the right to education? Because that's the only way to ensure everyone's have a better life.
Education for all
is a human right.
It is our responsibility.
According to Article 26 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, education is considered a human right. The declaration was commissioned in 1946 and took 2 years to write. It was accepted by the United Nations General Assembly on December 10, 1948 in Paris, when 48 countries voted in favor of it. According to Act 26, everyone has the right to education. Education shall be free, at least in the elementary and fundamental stages. Elementary education shall be compulsory. Technical and professional education shall be made generally available, and higher education shall be equally accessible to all on the basis of merit. Also, education shall be directed to the full development of the human personality and to the strengthening of respect for human rights and fundamental freedoms. It shall promote understanding, tolerance, and friendship among all nations, racial or religious groups, and shall further the activities of the United Nations for the maintenance of peace. Lastly, parents have a prior right to choose the kind of education that shall be given to their children. Eleanor Roosevelt supported the adoption of the UDHR as a declaration rather than as a treaty, because she believed that it would have the same kind of influence on a global society as the U.S. Declaration of Independence had in the U.S. It has also served as a foundation for a growing number of national laws, international laws and treaties, as well as regional, national, and subnational institutions protecting and promoting human rights. During the 11th session of the General Conference of the United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization, which was held in Paris during the months of November and December in 1960, the term discrimination was defined as including any distinction, exclusion, limitation, or preference based on the race, color, sex, language, religion, political or other opinion, national or social origin, economic condition, or birth, has the purpose of effect of nullifying or impairing equality of treatment in education. For the purpose of the convention, the term education refers to all types and levels of education and includes access to education, the standard and quality of education, and the conditions under which it is given. The following situations shall not be considered as discrimination within the meaning of Article 1 of the Convention. The establishment of separate educational systems where the genders are divided, as long as the systems offer equal access to education. The establishment of separate educational systems for religious or linguistic reasons, as long as they keep the wishes of the pupils' parents or legal guardians. The establishment of private educational institutions, as long as they do not exclude any groups. In order to eliminate and prevent discrimination, an institution must make sure that there is no discrimination in the admission of pupils to educational institutions. To give foreign nationals living within their territory the same access to education as that given to their own nationals. In the Convention on the Rights of the Child, states due account of the importance and cultural values of each people for the protection and harmonious development of the child. The Convention on the Rights of the Child was the first core human rights treaty to include specific references to indigenous children in a number of provisions. Article 30 of the Convention states that in those states in which ethnic, religious, or linguistic minorities or persons of indigenous origin exist, a child belonging to such a minority or who is indigenous shall not be denied the right, in community with other members of his or her own group, to enjoy his or her own culture, to profess and practice his or her own religion, or to use his or her own language. The committee has observed that indigenous children face significant challenges in exercising their rights and has issued specific recommendations to this effect in this concluding observation. Indigenous children continue to experience serious discrimination contrary to Article 2 of the Convention in a range of areas, including in their access to healthcare and education, which has prompted the need to adopt this general comment. For further information, please read International Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Racial Discrimination in 1965, International Covenant of Civil and Political Rights in 1966, International Covenant on Economic, Social, and Cultural Rights in 1966, Committee on the Right of the Child, 2009, Convention Against Discrimination in Education, 1960.